called up and wanted match races between the two of us.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Well, I've heard others in Tampa, Don, the old man, affectionately meant. I know a guy that calls you our father who art in Florida.
Yeah, that was written on somebody's scoop somewhere.
That's right.
Earlier, you've been taking power out of the engine. What do you do now as Rob Bruins will no doubt put you in that right-hand lane for the final?
I'll tune for that lane.
Is it possible as it cools off that lane could get a little better?
You can win this race out of that lane.
Over 240. With what tactic?
I don't want to talk about that.
Just like you said you would.
Well, I smoked the tires, and he had me, and I'll be darned if he didn't go out of control and nearly crossed the center line, and that's all I needed, and it just gathered him right up.
You know, going into this event, I've never seen so many of the supposed experts pick one guy. Everybody says they're not going to beat Big Daddy on this racetrack. He's just too crafty.
It was a racetrack that needed a lot of experience, no question about it.
The word your fellow racers use the most to describe you is crafty. I say, boy, that Don is crafty. How about a driving trick that you were using that no one else knew about?
Well, one of the things before the days of the Christmas tree was the flag start was you really had to get off. And of course, they had flags on buttons then, so there was still some electronics involved. But I used to watch the guy's arm right here. He'd hold the flag down, and I'd watch that, and you'd see that arm twitch there before the flag would actually move. And that was, later I heard other guys had done that. But that was one of my tricks that I used to like for getting off of the gate just right. The Christmas tree, of course, that was a difficult device. You had to time yourself just right, all those bulbs flashing down, and it wasn't a driving trick so much, but it was a trick for the car was the offset front wheels. I came up with them to get a little more roll out.
Yeah, you could stagger them too, that's just
staggered them, and that gives you more roll, and that lets you leave sooner on the bulbs.
I've heard stories that you actually used to use the brake down the racetrack.
Oh, I still do that. That'll bring you out of a wheel stand to this day. But in the days of the smoking tires, you could run out with a tire smoking, just touch the brake with spots. Now, you had to have spot brakes, couldn't have shoe brakes because they're self-energizing. But the spot's braking, you just pull that smoke down just a little bit, and that car just accelerate away from you. It's unbelievable.
People said this track at this point wouldn't hold anything as quick as a 572, but you again have proved them wrong.
Yeah, we were going the wrong way. Everybody else was too. We decided to do something different.
And?
It picked right up.
What was it?
Well, I ain't gonna...
Speed secrets?
Speed secrets. They'll come right. They can all do it in just about 5 minutes if they knew what it was.
Okay, Big Daddy thinks he's got the trick that'll take to win this.
How about a mechanical trick, or just some little deal that you had and you just chuckled to yourself wondering how long it was going to take for him to figure it out?
Well... The first mechanical trick, and that's what brought on the body on the front of Swamp Rat 1, was the great big fuel lines. I realized when I watched Cook and Bedwell run that they had to pump tank up in the middle of the course because it run that well. They didn't have enough fuel flow through the half-inch line, so I had a great big 1-inch line up front, and so we covered it all up with body and hid it in the frame rails, and that was on there for a couple of years before Seto picked up on it.
Anything else mechanically that had them scratching their heads?
Well, it's well, okay. We're looking right at the car. This car has port nozzles.
Sure.
And we had port nozzles for years, and nobody knew it because the line going into the back of the manifold goes to a fuel block underneath. And unless you take the manifold off, you can't see the port nozzles, but they're all down there.
Well, just now when you said it had port nozzles, I looked and I thought, no, it doesn't. So this line here?
That's the port nozzles, and people used to wonder, what's that line going in there for? And that goes to port nozzles. See, I had port nozzles on Swamp Rat 1. I have the original set port nozzles, the very first in the industry, and I realized then it was important to have that fuel distribution.
You are crafty, Big Daddy.
There's a few other ones that are crafty too.